Today's agenda will be based on what I anticipate will be your questions, beginning with, why should you care about grants and fellowships? How do you write a letter of interest or proposal? Where can I find grants and fellowships? And lastly, what other resources are available to me? Let's take it from the beginning. Why should I care? I can answer that question not only in 2 words, but in probably 2 of your favorite words. Free money. What do you mean by free? Well, grant awards money to fund projects, to acknowledge accomplishments, or to conduct research, and this money is not paid back. Fellowships provide stipends and award temporary positions, temporary retreats, or temporary access to different institutions or locations, usually for the enhancement of a project or other work product. In short, grants and fellowships give you money to do what you are likely going to do anyway. So what is involved in applying? Generally, applications have 2 forms or 2 stages. The first is the letter of intent, otherwise known as an LOI. A letter of intent is actually not a letter at all. Generally, it's more of a mini proposal that is designed to be part summary and part sales pitch. Most grants or fellowships will have directions specifically regarding LOIs. Follow their instructions and submit as needed. But generally speaking, it will be a short biographical or informational section, followed by a summary of whatever the work product or program is or project you're working on, and then expected outcomes, measurable timetable. All of this is done in a very general and somewhat vague sense, but in a way that encourages them to want to fund you. The second step or stage is generally a request for proposals, or an RFP. A request for proposal is what a grantor sends or opens to you that usually includes directions on how to submit your proposal. Your proposal is often a very detailed explanation of your project or research, along with measurable goals, dedicated timelines, and specific descriptions of implementation. As you can already tell, the LOI and the RFP are very similar. The difference, generally speaking, is the amount of detail required for an RFP is not present in an LOI. Specifically, you will have to speak to every stage of development of your program or project, what those measurable outcomes and goalposts are, and what the expected obstacles to implementation may be. Which brings me to what I think is the most important part of the grant writing or fellowship applying process, which are my 4 rules for LOIs and RFPs. Rule number 1. Follow directions. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you follow the directions given for your letter of intent or your directions given for your proposal, you are 50% of the way to being the one chosen for funding. Many proposals or letters are immediately discarded simply because the applying person did not follow directions. It seems simple, but doing so will give you a leg up on your competition. Rule number 2. Seriously, follow directions. Rule 3. Do not put square pegs in round holes. This is to say that if the grantor is offering awards for Middle Eastern research and your specialty and project deal with Russian and Slavic history, don't apply because that grant or that fellowship is not designed for you. Don't try to twist your work into some strange shape simply to fit their requirements. If it fits, then by all means apply. But if it doesn't, look for something that does. Because it will be recognized when you try to force your way in, and then it starts to tread upon rules 1 and 2, where you're stepping outside of the directions. Last but not least, rule 4. Whatever they say goes. If you're doing a research project on, let's say, fashion trends in Western society, but the funder that you're looking to apply to doesn't use the word fashion trends, but sartorial changes in society, then use their words. Whenever applicable, use the words that the funder or the grantor or the university or the fellowship person uses, if appropriate. Sometimes it's jargon. Often it will change over the course of years as some words come into fashion and some words fall out of fashion. But whatever is trending in the language of that particular area, follow that trend, use their words. Where can I find resources? Well, the first place you can find some resources is with me. I have put together a list of grant and fellowship opportunities for humanities students that will be frequently updated and expanded. This list will be provided to you via email, or you can get it from me or Dr. Monica Gelawat. You can also find resources online. Google is wonderful at tracking down pretty much anything. And lastly, check your USM email. Opportunities to apply, study for, or learn more about grant and fellowship opportunities arrive all the time. For example, the Center for Faculty Development is hosting Coffee Chat, ins and outs of the grant process. This month's Coffee Chat features fellow faculty who have successfully received grants. Join them for a conversation and Q&A about what to expect in the grant process. This will happen Wednesday, November 10th from noon to 1 o'clock. So who are you going to call, email when you need help? That would be me. I've included 2 pictures, mask on, mask off. That way, no matter what, you can recognize me. This concludes this presentation. Thank you for listening.